Welcome back to Week in Horror. This time we're talking about May 24th through May 30th. Thank you once again for joining us. I'm Eugene, and as always with me is Alex and JL.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going, all you gruesome guys and gals?
Now, JL, I think we have, a couple of announcements first?
Yes, we do. We have some big announcements. So, first thing I want to tell everybody about, if anybody who's not familiar with it, every month we do a bloodbath debate, where we pit two horror icons against each other to the death, and we want to announce our next one. So our bloodbath debate for the month of June is going to be Jigsaw versus the Collector.
Oh, it's going to be a good one.
Ooh.
Yes. That will be Alex and I duking it out in the bloodbath arena.
Oh, that's
going to be a
I'm
lot of fun.
up against you. That's right.
Yep. That's going to be a lot of fun.
That's going to be awesome. Psychological warfare.
Crazy Evil Engineer versus Crazy Evil Engineer. This is going to be good.
One of them likes puppets.
That's going to be the deciding factor right there. One puppet.
One likes puppets and one likes bugs.
Yeah.
Or spiders. I'm not sure. All right, and I also want to announce that Week in Horror has teamed up with The Plot Hole. And for those not familiar, The Plot Hole is a radio show that broadcasts every Friday night at www.rockmetaltalk.com. They are part of an online radio station, and The Plot Hole is their Friday night show. And Week in Horror has teamed up with The Plot Hole and host Johnny O to bring you the Master Debater series.
Woo!
Woo! Yeah!
I'm going to master debate all over the place.
So every month, we will gather together a panel of horror experts, and we will live stream a debate as to what entry in a franchise is the best in that franchise. The last Master Debaters was just this past Saturday, was on the 16th of May. It is currently up on YouTube. You can check out that previous episode. The next one will be June 20th. And we will be debating the best entry in the franchise Scream.
Oh, it's going to be a good one.
So four of us experts will get together to argue that one. I believe I will be representing Scream 2. Eugene will be with me. He was with us on the last Master Debaters where we argued about Nightmare on Elm Street. And Eugene, while no official winner was declared,
are you only
pretty
saying
much
that 'cause you
everybody
lost?
felt that pretty much everybody felt Eugene won.
It was like it was like five of us, and so it was like one vote to zero or something like that. But it still counts.
Still counts.
It does still count. And that's good. That's good. Coming off the very, very narrow victory I took from Eugene on the last bloodbath debate, Eugene answered back with a solid representation of the first original Nightmare on Elm Street. And so we'll be coming back to do it again with the franchise Scream on June 20th. That will be live streamed on YouTube at The Plot Hole. So be sure to follow them, subscribe to them, hit that notification bell, and you will get to join us in the live chat as we talk about which movie was the best in that franchise. It was Scream 2. It was. Pretty much everybody knows. So.
I'm just saying, Scream 1, revolutionary, reinvigorated a genre. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yo, Eugene's going to get really good at these debates. Eugene, because he's adapted so much since the first one that he did, and I see it every time he debates. His strategy becomes stronger, and he's just going to end up running this thing.
He's giving me a run for my fucking money.
He's going to be like the all-time greatest debater. Make him judge.
And that's something.
The first one, I was like, okay, I didn't really know how to do it and how to go at the angle. And then, I was like, okay, now I got the formula down. And I took debate in high school. So,
you just watch
my teacher being proud.
It'll be good. I promise it will be an excellent show.
You promise, or my money back?
Unlike on Nightmare on Elm Street, there was like five of us because unfortunately our Dream Child guy, he dropped out. So we only had 5 people representing, and nobody pretty much liked the Dream Child anyway. So we pretty much did the one that we did 1 through 4 and 6. And while that was a whole bunch of people talking about this one will only have 4 people on it. So this is going to be a really, really good one. So like I said, again, follow them at The Plot Hole on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and smash that notification bell so you can get notified as to when that goes live. That'll be at 8 p.m. Central Time on YouTube. And the last thing that I want to plug is that JL, have entered into a kind of a deal with Johnny O of The Plot Hole, and we do Monday movie review. Every single Monday afternoon, we release a kind of comedic review of classic horror movies. That is also available on The Plot Hole on YouTube, and eventually will be available on The Week in Horror as well. We'll get that mirrored over there as soon as we get that set up. But so far, you can go to The Plot Hole, you can check out the ones we've done. We've covered Jaws, we've covered The Thing, we've covered the 2013 continuation of Evil Dead, and we also just did It Follows, that just released this past Monday. Next one we have coming up will be Night of the Living Dead, 1968, George A. Romero. That's going to be an awesome one. That's going to be a lot of fun. So that comes out this upcoming Monday. You can check those out every single Monday. New Monday movie reviews. That'll be a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely check it out because It Follows is one of my favorite movies. So yeah, definitely check that out. And keep in mind I know we were talking about the bloodbath earlier with Jigsaw versus a Collector. If you go ahead and check out our Patreon subscribers get that debate a month early. So go ahead, check out Patreon / Week in Horror. You can look at it. We have our couple of tiers, like $1 tier, $3 tier. And check that out, and that way you can go ahead and get some of those bloodbaths early before everybody else does. So yeah, check that out. But let's talk about some horror movies here. So Alex, what do we got?
Yeah, let's do that.
Actually, before we jump into it, I do want to say
I
want to say one more thing. I apologize. So we know that on last week's episode, we announced that we were going to have a special guest tonight. That our special guest Joshua Moreno was going to be joining us tonight. Unfortunately, Joshua has had a bit of a family emergency. I know that these are extremely trying times, and with all the uncertainty out there, just things can crop up and just make things chaotic. So unfortunately, Joshua would not be able to join us this week, which is a shame. We miss you, bud. We hope you can join us for another episode. Hopefully next week we'll be able to swing a special guest in. We're currently working on it, so we do apologize about that. But that just means you get to listen to our lovely voices tonight talking about horror movies.
Sultry sound of my voice.
Oh, I'm hard already.
Oh yeah.
This episode's going to be hard.
This is a killer lineup today, so this is like solid because usually we'll get like an A-list movie and then a couple B and then a couple like C movies, but this is a killer lineup tonight.
This is straight through probably stuff that everybody's heard of.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, this was a good solid week.
So, but
you're lost, Josh.
Yes.
I kid. We
do wish you the best, though. Sure. But so let's get into it, Alex.
All right, we're gonna start off with a movie that actually came out very recently. The movie Brightburn came out May 24th, 2019, so a year ago. Brightburn, which I thought it's a nice twist. It's a superhero horror film directed by David. See, I'm gonna fucking can't do Russian. Hold on, I gotta pull Eugene Yarovesky. Yarovesky, thank you. I've been staring at it, and for some reason, it just would not click in my head. I don't know what's wrong with me. Okay, so yeah, it was directed by David, written by Mark Gunn and Brian Gunn.
I'm written by David.
I'm not gonna do that again. Starring Elizabeth Banks, David Denman, Jackson Dunn, Matt Jones, Meredith Hagner. I almost said Hanger. It follows a boy who seemingly appears from space, and he discovers that he has superpowers, and he learns his powers, and then he's brainwashed by the thing that he came in, and then he starts going like evil because he realizes he's got these invincibility powers and he can run really fast. Essentially like a little bratty Superman. And it starts fucking with people and fucking them up. Man, there was a lot of stuff in that fucking movie that, like, you just kind of watch and it's like, oh my god, like the glass in the eyeball scene.
Oh yeah,
I was like, oh my god, my stomach. No.
Oh, when he
pops the light bulb.
When he eye lasered his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he eye beamed his dad.
When he's like floating in the road and the dude in the SUV pulls up and he's like, no.
I'm out. He's flying.
Like,
I'm gone.
Fuck.
I felt, and I think that actor, that was the dude who played, oh shit, wasn't he Badger on Breaking Bad?
Oh, I guess so. Is it?
I'm pretty sure that was Badger on Breaking. Yeah, that was Brandon Badger Mayhew on Breaking Bad. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
God, he plays so many different roles. He's like, sometimes I don't recognize him.
He's good. The dude is fantastic.
He really is.
To be honest, when Brightburn came out, I was really, when it was first announced, I was really, really excited because no one had done, well, we'd already had R-rated superhero movies. We've had Deadpool. We've seen DC, go into their murderverse. Things have been, we've seen new takes on the superhero genre, which has been really, really cool. I'm a big superhero nerd, so I like seeing risks, and of course I like seeing risks being taken with the genre. And I know that we're gonna be having the new Mutants coming out here pretty soon, which is also supposed to be a horror film. The new Doctor Strange, when it comes out, it's supposed to be a horror film as well. I like that chances are being taken. The problem but when Brightburn came out, I was really excited they were going to do the Superman horror origin story. So it's very much in the vein of like Red Sun, whereas the alternate tale of what would happen if Superman had landed in Russia instead of in America. And,
I love that movie.
It was a fantastic comic book. Really excellent stuff in it. But there's a thing that I've always said about DC characters and how they differ from Marvel characters. I am arguably a much bigger Marvel fan than I am a DC fan. There are many reasons why people would argue one over the other. I've always seen it as a matter of relatability, because the only relatable character, like truly relatable character in DC comics that I've come across has always been Batman. Which is why we've consistently gotten all these Batman movies. We got the Christopher Nolan trilogy. We got the new one coming out with Rob Pattinson. Batman. We had 4 Batman films before the Christopher Nolan trilogy. Batman. We had the series. And Batman's always been around, but we have not. We did have a Wonder Woman show way back in the day. Obviously, Christopher Reeve was an excellent Superman. He actually made him relatable. But we realized it made him more relatable as they spent more time with him, or equal amounts of time with him as Clark Kent, which we can relate to Clark Kent. But we can't really relate to Superman. Superman's an alien. He's virtually godlike. And getting on that level is difficult. Same thing with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is an Amazon. She's effectively the daughter of a god. The only real human with no abilities is Batman. And unlike Marvel comics, because I love Marvel, I'm a huge Spider-Man nerd. The big thing about Marvel is that Marvel, they always put their characters' humanity first. So we can relate to them on a human plane. They'll say, oh, they're a person, but they have abilities. Instead of, they are like just this avatar of power, like Superman is. And that's what killed me about Brightburn, is despite the fact that we get to see this kid going through these changes, and the whole thing is a parable, kind of a parable for puberty. Because when he hits puberty, his powers kick in. Then the ship like brainwashes him and turns him evil. He abandons his humanity and starts wrecking fucking shit like, a child Superman would do, turning into a mass murderer and stuff. But it's still Superman. He's got eye beams. He flies. Super strength. Invulnerability. His dad shoots him in the back of the head and the bullet bounces the fuck off. You just can't relate to that as a human. And I think that took away from the film, because already good Superman, we just can't relate to him because he is so beyond us. And like Clark Kent, I think it was, what movie was it? Alex, remind me. It was Kill Bill. Do you remember what Bill said about Superman?
Oh, I don't remember the line, no.
So when he gave that big speech, I think Eugene might know. When he gave that big speech to Beatrix about Superman, how Clark Kent is the disguise.
Oh, it's his view on humanity, because Clark Kent is weak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is Superman's That is Superman's image of humanity that he reflects. That's how he views us. Weak, unsure of ourselves, unconfident, cowardly is how he views us. That's the image he puts on as Clark Kent. And then he takes that off and he's Superman, because he's Superman all the time. He's got to dumb himself down to be Clark Kent. So in this one, we've literally taken away the fake humanity, and now we just have a homicidal Superman is all we've got. And for, given how the movie ended, when he, crashed the plane into the farmhouse, it's only going to get worse from there in James Gunn's dark superhero universe, or whatever because he joined it with his movie Super and added in a bunch of stuff with that Michael Rooker scene at the end of the movie. So I don't know. I was unable to relate to this, just like I was unable to relate to Superman in, say, Man of Steel or Superman in Dawn of Justice. It's kind of like, you're Superman. It just doesn't connect. There's no connectivity there.
Yeah, I've never related to Superman, but I like the concept of the superhero horror thing, because you take a slasher movie, but imagine the slasher being Superman. Because if you keep running, you can outrun Michael Myers or Jason. Yeah, they pop up here and there, but you can outrun them. You can kind of outsmart them. You can hide from them. You drive away from them. And we see this in countless horror movies. But the scary part is, like, if Superman wants to kill you, there is absolutely nothing you can do.
Oh, you're fucking dead.
You have no chance. And I think so with the TV show The Boys, where it has I can't remember the guy who's like supposedly Superman, and he's Homelander, and he's just like, oh, you screwed me over, I'm just going to shoot down your airplane, and there's nothing you can do about it. Kind of thing.
Yeah, it's that godlike nature. I just don't think audiences can connect on that. So they need Clark Kent to make it relatable. And unfortunately, there is no humanity to this character, and it just doesn't resonate. So all you have is what you just said. You have an unstoppable slasher that legit cannot be stopped. He's invincible. He can fly. He's all the powers of Superman, but he's a homicidal maniac. So
the kid is way too OP. They need to nerf that motherfucker.
Broken like a Power 9 deck.
I love the magic reference right there too.
Solid fucking. Whoa.
Broken like the Power 9, absolutely. And with this, and unfortunately, while the film did make some money, it was a bit of a misstep. And I think it was a misstep. That's why I'm holding out hope for the New Mutants, which I think is the direction that they should be going, because at least this is good, getting back to Marvel characters, humanity, seeing their humanity, and then realizing their powers on top of it. Something the X-Men have always done really, really well. And but is this a thing? It's so new and so fresh. Is it a thing?
It could be because of the trend, because superheroes are so big right now, to the point, I mean, even Marvel's kind of scaled some stuff back after Endgame, that horror can naturally adapt to what the current trend is. And so with the current trend being superhero movies, it can easily pick that up, and it can kind of put you in situations where it's like, what if you're up against Superman? What if he's a homicidal maniac? And I think one of the missteps of this movie wasn't necessarily trying to relate to the kid, because you'll never be able to relate to Superman. But if they explored more of the heartbreak with the parents, with Elizabeth Banks, and I can't remember the guy who played the father.
That was David Denman.
Yeah, David Denman. Because you have Elizabeth Banks, who's all in this constant state of denial, and we're like, okay, come on, you've seen all the stuff he's doing. You need to, he could be good. He's just going through growing pains and all that kind of stuff. He laser beamed a waitress through a refrigerator door.
Yeah, well, sometimes just are in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, boys will be boys, kind of thing.
Fucking Brightburn, Indiana, was it? That place, yeah,
But
seemed like a real cool place.
yeah, it seemed nice. It seemed pretty. It did. But that was something they should have maybe focused more on the parents, or maybe just develop that relationship better, because I felt it was a misstep a little bit, because after a while I'm just like, okay, Elizabeth Banks, you're stupid. Like that.
That's what got me, is you have this situation, and obviously the parents are in over their head. Okay, they've seen what their kid can do. Break somebody's arm with just a flick of his wrist. When he was sitting at the table and he was chewing on the fork.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
weird
his dad,
flex,
and
but
his
okay.
dad exactly. And it was kind of like, okay, it was like, okay, you've seen what this kid can do, and you're in way over your head. But Elizabeth Banks' character just seems she becomes so hell-bent on trying, well, first of all, she's so hell-bent on being his mother and protecting him, that it just seemed like it went on way too long. And then at the very last second, I realize what I have to do, but you're fighting Superman, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
And the dad, it was like, what the fuck did you expect to happen, dude? This kid stuck his hand in a lawnmower and stopped the blade barehanded.
Dude, that was so fucking. That was so nerve-wracking when he was doing it. I'm like I know it's not gonna hurt him, but like just watching a kid stick his hand into the fucking lawnmower, like I've got 3 kids, man. That freaked me out. I was like, no.
And the dad knows what he does. The dad knows what the kid's capable of, and he knows what the kid is doing. Okay, he's already committed murders. He's already showing signs of psychopathy since since the ship called him out and brainwashed him, and we see these things. Okay, you're in over your head. You should have called the government ages ago.
You literally should not have touched that fucking baby.
You're gonna take the kid out and try to shoot him in the back of the head. It's like, no. And while it sucked, when he was sitting there and he grabbed his dad, and he used his heat vision on his face. That was fucking rough.
Yeah.
But it was, yes, the parents were just too stupid. The parents were stupid.
I think, Elizabeth Banks, though, I think what they were trying to do there was make it seem like, this mother who would do anything for her child, and it escalates to a point where she starts to, ignore. And, they do a pretty good job at that, but then it just kind of becomes, almost, forced. Like you said, you're dumb. Obviously something bad is happening. And I think, having something so extreme as a tiny Superman, and then and then trying to have a mother who's so sympathetic or empathetic or whatever that she pushes the bad stuff away, but the bad stuff's really fucking bad, and so it's it's really not believable bad at that point. So it's now it's okay, any fucking person, an insane person, would know that that's not okay, and.
Yeah, it's unreasonable to the point of absolute incredulity, and I guess that was where the third act was heading. I think it could have been. I think the script could have been a little better. I think that as from the point of character development, which is why character development is so important in scripts, at least establishing that establishing characters that the audience can connect to in some way, but. I think while the action was excellent and while the effects were fantastic, the kid was creepy as shit. You had good moments like when he was floating in front of the truck and just shit like that. There was good stuff there. It was gory, it was violent, and it was exactly what we'd expect from a homicidal Superman.
Dude, in the kitchen when he's flying through the walls back and forth.
Oh yeah,
dude,
when the cops show up and he just disappears. No,
boom. Oh, he did.
So yeah, it's exactly what we'd expect from a horror Superman or a Superman horror film. But I think that was the problem. It was exactly what we'd expect when there was an opportunity there to actually turn the genre I think on its head a little bit, to maybe take it for you. This is the first opportunity to take this for a spin. This is legitimately the first superhero horror film. And it was a big opportunity. And I just think James Gunn, although I love James Gunn, I'm so glad he's coming back for Guardians 3. I love the fact, Guardians 1, Guardians 2. I loved his movie Slither. I loved his movie Super. Everything he's done so far has been gold. I think this was the first trip, but because I think when you're entering into brand new territory, when you are breaking ground on a new aspect of an established genre, the superhero genre has been around, started in 2008. 2018, Marvel went 10 years. We went all the way from Iron Man to fucking Endgame, and then then we get Brightburn. It's like, ooh, interesting. It was an opportunity to establish itself away from DC's murderverse and a Superman that kills people and a Batman that just gives no fucking shits about anyone in his path. So it was such a good opportunity, but I guess you can get a little trepidatious when you're jumping into new territory like that, and I think they just went with the spectacle instead of with the story.
I agree, and the thing that could have made it better, and I think more relatable, because we talked about how you obviously can't relate to Superman, and then you have the parents, you can't relate to them, so you have no one relatable. But what should have happened is, once the parents realize, okay, we need to stop him, that should have been the beginning of the third act. And not something where, oh, well, the dad tries to shoot him, but have the mom and dad both together put a legitimate plan. Like if they have Kryptonian or something like that, they find some kind of weakness, and their plan could fail at the end of the movie. And then that's perfectly fine, and then he can go on, whatever. But even having some kind of a realistic, legit plan put together to stop them, where at least the audience can go, okay, I can see where they came up with that. And then he can fail, and the kid can go on and do whatever. But just the way it ended, it's almost like the movie ended at the end of Act 2.
Yeah.
And that's what we missed.
I honestly think that if the parents had not died, if they had at least been able to, whereas they didn't destroy him, but at least prove to him that the one thing that he didn't learn was that he was not absolutely invincible. That the piece of the ship that could harm him. And if the parents were able to, number one, if the parents were able to stay united, which they didn't.
No,
the minute there were problems with the kid, the two of them fell apart like their marriage was already on the fucking rocks. But if they managed to have a united front, maybe even get other townspeople involved, and actually hurt the kid in a way that he would have to, I would accept they managed to form a united front and actually hurt the kid with a plan utilizing the metal from the spaceship, and then he takes off, realizing that they can get him to a stalemate. And then the kid takes off. It's like, oh, now this threat is out there. We know how to hurt him, but he's out there. We don't know where he's at. That is scary. And opens up for more opportunities. At this point, now it's like, well, what are you going to do with the sequel? If there is going to be a sequel, what are you going to do? He's already proven that nobody can fucking stop him.
He's invulnerable.
That no matter what...
He's not invincible.
Yeah, and no matter what, he's gonna he'll just grab a 747 out of the sky and drop it on you.
That would suck. God. That just, oh. Anyways, there is talks of a sequel. James Gunn was talking about writing up a sequel. So I mean, that is definitely a possibility. I don't know if anybody's gonna tag off of this. But I'd like to know from the audience, if there was going to be a new superhero horror movie, I guess my question would be like, how do you think they could expand on this genre? How do you think that they could continue to use this kind of, because like you said, there's really nothing like it. You can use like, X-Men mutants and stuff like Venom or Blade or something having, superpowers, but this was like the first of its kind. What if Superman was bad? So like maybe stick with that. Like, what if another superhero was bad? Or I don't know. Where do you think this will go? Base it off of a real one and make a new one?
It's interesting that you bring it up, but I and some people are going to argue with me on this. I don't consider Blade a horror
I think
movie.
The only reason that it could be considered a horror movie is because it's vampires, and that's traditional, like a Hammer horror.
I just consider it a splattery action movie. Now, Morbius coming out with Jared Leto,
yeah,
playing Morbius. That may be a horror film.
Freaking Jared Leto, man.
So Morbius the Living
Everybody
Vampire.
hated on so hard for the Joker. He was just having fun.
It wasn't his fault. I don't think it was. The whole Joker thing.
I think a lot of things are his
I don't know
fault,
about
but,
that,
you know.
but that's a conversation for another
Yeah,
day.
that's a whole... That's a different podcast right there.
Weekend Horror, no fuck you.
The shit on Jared Leto episode.
Man, we should do something like that. We just sit there and fucking argue for an hour. No. He was a piece of shit in this movie. No, fuck you. That'll be fun. All right, check us out next week on Weekend Horror fucks each other up. What? No, I don't like that. Come up with a new title, JL.
I'll work on it.
All right, so let's move on to something a little bit more classic. What do you got for us, JL?
Oh, we're going
Yes,
super
we are.
classic with this one. One that I think everybody knows and everybody loves. It is one of the seminal horror films released May 25th, 1979. Ridley Scott's classic Alien.
Oh, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Absolutely. Directed by Ridley Scott and screenplay by Dan O'Bannon. Starring Tom Skerritt, Sigourney Weaver, Veronica Cartwright, Harry Dean Stanton, John Hurt, Ian Holm, and
Bless you.
Yaphet Kotto as the doomed crew of the Nostromo. And I don't think a summary is really not necessary, but you never know. We may have some young listeners who have never seen the first
Jesus
Alien.
Christ, I hope little
So,
children
real
aren't
quick
fucking
summary:
listening to a podcast.
a crew of mining astronauts, or not really astronauts, but a crew of interstellar miners are working on a freighter, and they're tugging their mining haul back to Earth when they get a call where they get a message from Earth to go and investigate, from their company Whalen Yutani, to go and investigate a strange alien signal coming off of an unknown planet. They go to investigate and unleash an alien parasite onto the ship that pretty much wrecks everybody's fucking day. It is the film that launched an entire franchise that gave us 4 films, 2 crossovers with The Predator, and 2 more additional movies from Ridley Scott, Prometheus and Covenant, and who knows, maybe even a 3rd film. I've heard that's kind of up in the air as to whether or not Ridley Scott will get to do his close to the trilogy, to the new trilogy he's trying to do. But this one, the original Alien, the one that started it all, and pretty much changed the game for sci-fi horror, I think pretty much permanently.
It really did, and the timing that it came out, there were several factors that went into it, because you had the slasher genre coming up, because Halloween has already came out. Yeah, Halloween came out in 78, so you already had Halloween came out in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but also on top of that, you had Star Wars come out in 77, which was a huge hit. And so the studio was looking at putting something together of combining the 2 genres. And they wanted to do a high-end effects on it, because Star Wars killed the low-budget sci-fi genre. If you could not do effects close to Star Wars level, then your film was no longer, like, no one was going to take it seriously. So they knew right off the bat that these effects had to be top notch. And so they actually hired over 200 of craftspeople and technicians just on construction of the alien suit, on the models that were used for it, and also for the sets that they actually built when they're on the planet. And you see the Nostromo landed on the planet. They actually built a 58-foot landing leg just to showcase. And for a lot of the wide shots that emphasize like how big the one creature was when they're on the planet, they actually had some of the kids in the suits just to showcase. So it helped emphasize the size of the area more. But they knew right off the bat that it had to be top notch. Now they did have a couple instances on set, because on a lot of the spacesuits there were no cooling systems, and there happened to be a heat wave. There's also no ventilation for carbon dioxide on the spacesuits, so there's risk of passing out
Fatal flaw.
if you're in them for too long.
Damn.
And and what was it? It was Sigourney Weaver found out she was allergic to one of the materials for the suits also.
God, that would suck. Fuck. Call up the
But
fucking
what was in their favor, because they wanted to emphasize the horror, they could spend that extra money on these big sets and the suit design, because there wasn't like going to be a full space battle. A lot of the shots were dark, so in terms of the actual shooting part, that part they can scale back on. But it works. I love the movie.
Oh, come on, the chest burster scene. Was obviously the story behind that. How none of the cast were anticipating what was going to happen. No one knew what the damn thing looked like when it came out of John Hurt's character. I think the greatest story behind that was Veronica Cartwright, who played Lambert in the film. That they caught this one shot of her because they had the cameras all set up, and then the chest burster comes out, and the blood spray goes over, and it caught Veronica Cartwright straight in the face, and so she gets like a face full. It's like that, and she fainted on set because nobody expected what was going to happen like that. I think Sigourney Weaver was talking about how she was just transfixed, and she just couldn't move, and Yaphet Kotto looked like he was about to just stab the fucking thing right there on the table when that thing jumped out. So obviously Ridley Scott, a master of not only suspense and creating an environment, because obviously the scene with the catwalks, or the scene with the little tubes, the air vents, was what they were. They were up in the ventilation system.
Are you talking about when Dallas was running around?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was over that. I almost called them fucking Jeffries tubes. I've been watching a lot of Star Trek as of late, but when he's up there in the vents and trying to flush the damn thing out with the flamethrower, and the claustrophobic nature of being on that ship, and the darkness of it, and the look of the alien hiding amongst hiding in the nooks and crannies of this mining ship, of this industrial metal style with all this grease and steam and everything, just so absolutely brilliant. And I love the fact that the original alien head, it would kind of change for the sequel, but how when they designed it, how the smooth head of the creature was semi-translucent, and they had put a human skull, like the top half of a human skull, up within it, so at certain angles you could see the skull underneath it, because it was born out of a human being, so it still carries human DNA, and that was just fucking wild. So, just being able to see that just barely in there. Just one of those little things. With attention to detail. It was the details that really made that film.
It was something that they were able to focus on, because even with the actual alien puppet, it had over 900 moving parts of articulation that they could do with it.
That's ridiculous.
Son of a... And that fucking thing was like 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like between 6 and 7 feet fucking tall. 2 meters tall. God, that's crazy. But the movie... Oh, go ahead.
But of course... I would say, but of course, no match for
fucking
our girl Ripley.
Sigourney Weaver. This is like her first...
Badass.
Was like her first leading role in a movie. And with, like you said, Halloween came out and stuff. So the kind of concept of like a hunter, hunting down people one by one, it's kind of churned a little left on this one, because you've got your final girl Ripley, but she's like a fucking badass, and she was so
fucking hard.
She was so good in this role. She was nominated for like Saturn Award for Best Actress and a BAFTA Award for Most Promising Newcomer to Leading Film Role, and so just like you go into this movie, you're expecting, you hear stuff about it, you see the trailer and stuff, but then like you watch Sigourney Weaver just go fucking ham all the way down to the last minutes of the movie, and just like, I guess this one, I don't want to spoil it, but the way that she takes care of the situation, it's just like after it, when you see the space shot with, just the floating away into space, you finally realize you've been holding your breath for like the last 6 minutes, because she's like hanging on the thing, the door's open. Wow. I was like, holy shit.
I think as far as character establishment goes, Ripley was set apart. There were two moments that set it apart. She was obviously the strongest female that was on the. There was only two females on the crew. There was Lambert and there was Ripley, and Ripley just set it apart. Number one, she's the XO of the ship, and nobody wants to fucking listen to her. So she's getting shit from the crew, from Yaphet Kotto and Harry Dean Stanton's characters, and of course, it seems like Tom Skerritt, who is the captain, has like no fucking, just like no respect whatsoever. It's just there's this constant dogging on her, but she is. I love the fact that her character is an absolute stickler for protocol, and that she takes no shit from anybody. Because when she's having the argument, when she's trying to explain shit to Yaphet Kotto's character, to Yaphet Kotto and Harry Dean Stanton, and they're just being assholes to her, and she's like, why don't you just fuck off? And it was just, and then walks away.
Like, oh, fuck.
And then all Yaphet Kotto, and then all he could do back there is all he could do is like, it's just, God, fucking bitch. And I was like, that moment, and of course, she's the one who was not going to allow them to bring that shit onto the ship. She was the one this is so timely too, enforcing the quarantine. It's like, no, you are not bringing an unknown alien organism onto the ship. Don't do that.
It's nice because, like, in every movie, you're the one saying, the audience is like, don't do that. And they always fucking do it, and they always fucking die. People get slaughtered, but she had a fucking clear head on her shoulders. Fan-fucking-tastic job.
At all times.
Yeah, she's somebody that you root for, because when you look at a lot of the other like slasher movies and you have the final girl, usually the final girl stumbles through, maybe gets a lucky break and they're able to get away, or at the very end they'll like, okay, well, maybe I see a gun on the ground, let me pick it up and try to blindly shoot, or something like that. But you have a character that will come up with a plan, put it in action, fight back, who's like somebody you root for, that's a genuine badass.
She really is.
There's a reason that Alien is considered the 30th, I think Empire magazine did a thing about the best movies of all time, and I think Alien was the 33rd greatest film of all time.
33 under 30.
Is rated by Empire.
Sorry.
And the seventh best film rated by the AFI. The seventh best science fiction film ever made.
And Ellen Ripley, her character was is ranked number 8 of all-time film heroes.
Fuck yes. Ripley's a fucking
so she's a badass, and she gets more and more badass throughout the sequels. You get away from her, you bitch! And the second one.
Oh, Cameron took that shit and fucking ran with it. Despite the fact that she's running with the military, she's running with Marines in Aliens, okay? And Michael Baine's character, Hicks, gives her like a 10-minute introduction to the pulse rifle. Okay? Just here, let me show you how to use this thing. Just boom, 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 like this. And that's all she got. That's all her training is with that weapon. And then in the third act of the film, she's like, fuck this. Pick that badass up, pick the flamethrower up, strap those bitches together, get some fucking grenades, and go into the fucking hive. I will believe that any fucking day that Ripley can pull that shit off. Because that is how much of a badass she is.
This needs to be fucking done, and I'm gonna fucking do it.
Dude, I love how, and you make a really good point, how believable that is. Where it's just, okay, boom, boom, got it, I'm going back. And I was like, yeah, I can totally see Ripley doing that.
Reload, go back.
So sweet. It's such obviously, anybody who's seen the film knows exactly what we're talking about. We may have seen the end of Ripley as far as the films go, but of course, Alien turned into a freaking media franchise. It has films, as novels, comic books, video games, toys, you name it. Crossovers with the Predator franchise, which, Alien vs. Predator, and it's a great Requiem, kind of even worse. But Obviously, a lot of fun for sci-fi horror fans out there. But yeah, Alien. What else could we possibly fucking say?
I mean, it's something. On top of that, Sigourney Weaver has embraced the franchise, and she loves talking about it. They actually did. I was watching. It was like a school play that actually did a rendition of Alien. And like they
What?
they
Oh,
built
nice. I heard about that. I heard about that. Yes.
And it was like, so it was so well done. It's just like a high school that people requested several more showings, and Sigourney Weaver found out about it and actually went to one of the
Oh,
showings.
hell yeah.
I saw some videos on you. There were some videos on YouTube of just clips from the show, and the way they did the Alien was fantastic. Looks exactly like it did in the film, but obviously they're on a stage. Okay, so the way they worked the alien is that they were able to work the alien via wires and other to allow it to run up the wall and pop out. And they had various trap areas set around the stage where the alien could pop out. And it was really fucking good.
Yeah, definitely check it out. There's a couple of recordings of the entire. But it's just like a high school play that was just really well done. So it just shows you how much Alien has impacted pop culture.
And addressing that impact, so Ridley Scott returned to the franchise and brought us Prometheus and brought us Covenant. Now, unfortunately, both films, they both made money. They both made solid money, but response to them was not great, either critically or commercially. So while they made money, obviously an Alien movie is always going to make money. Ridley Scott had this idea that he wanted to go into the history, the backstory of the aliens, how they came apart, how they came about, where the species came from. He's completely ignoring the Predator spin-off stuff, and he wanted to do his own thing and tell a really, really interesting story. This kind of like this Christ allegory thing with the engineers seeding planets and like that. And I for one, I loved Prometheus. Even with the giant space vagina at the end. I really like Prometheus. I liked Covenant. I like the direction that they're going. I love Michael Fassbender, who played both David and Walter in that. I think I've loved him ever since I saw him in 300. I think he's great. The question is, will we get a third one? And it may be a rhetorical question. Do our fans or do our listeners want to see another Alien film? Do they want to see the wrap up to Ridley Scott's new trilogy? That third film will obviously bring the Prometheus trilogy to the first Alien film. And the question is, how are they going to do it? Will they do it? Do people even want to see it? Do you guys want to see the next Alien film and allow Ridley Scott to finish his trilogy and tell his story? We'd like to know. Hit us up at weekinhorror@gmail.com. Let us know your answers.
I'd watch it.
Eugene, I would absolutely want to see it. I saw Covenant, I saw Prometheus in theaters, so
I will see any Alien movie in theaters. I saw Prometheus, I saw Covenant, anything. If it's Alien related, I'm gonna go see it in theaters. I'm that big of a fan of the series. So I would absolutely love a new film.
Fuck yeah. All right. Now Eugene's got our next one. I've been looking forward to this one all week.
So I don't know how to segue from like one of the most iconic films of all time
to one of the most iconic films of all time.
Of all time.
Hey, it's still space, right?
Yeah.
I guess.
There's still aliens involved. Something like that. So, released May 27th, 1998, we have Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
Yes!
And starring, and it is the Cheeto family, right? So it's directed by Stephen Cheeto and
I was like Chiodo.
Yeah, Chiodo.
I like Cheeto,
directed
you say Cheeto.
Directed by Flamin' Hot Cheeto.
Yeah, Flamin' Hot.
Flamin' Hot Cheeto.
So, directed by Stephen Chiodo, and then written by Charles and Stephen Chiodo, and it stars Grant Kramer, Suzanne Snyder, and John Allen Nelson. And it is, you get exactly what you ask for. When it's like, okay, what is the synopsis of the film? You get killer clowns from outer space that kill people by wrapping them up in cotton candy. They also kill people in other ways, like punching a guy's head off and a shadow puppet.
What are you gonna do? Knock my block off? That shit was so fucking
Sure ass fucking shit.
He smashed his little bicycle and that fucker was like, BAM!
You got a full clown movie here, and while I am not a fan of clowns, I'm not like afraid of them, and like obviously you're gonna be afraid of some killer clowns if they're on the screen, but like you take this fear of clowns and you just fucking put it on the screen, and then it's like, okay, now other people are gonna be scared of fucking clowns.
Because they do look scary. Like they actually put a lot of work into the makeup and the animatronics and some of the set design. So the clowns do legit look creepy.
They are,
and then
but you're gonna be afraid of a fucking killer clown. Coulrophobia, like the fear of clowns. You know, clowns of like normal stature, like the ones that are in the fucking circus. Like people are so scared of that shit. 7.8% of Americans have coulrophobia. That's like the fear of clowns. And like I said, like I'm not like a fan of clowns. I think it's weird to dress up and fucking paint your face like that. Just in my opinion, like I don't know. I don't like clowns, but they don't scare me. But my wife hates clowns. And it's like anything that's like dressed up in a costume where you can't see their face. So she has like this legitimate fear of clowns. So I had to wait till she was sleeping to watch this movie again. Because I started it, or I pulled it up on the thing, and she's like, hell no. I was like,
You're like, the movie's funny, though.
I showed it to my wife. The first time, and she fucking
It's fucking great.
It's
so funny.
It's one of the most amazing 90s films.
It's so weird.
The fact,
I love it.
And the fact that you think about this movie came out in 1998. So 2000 was only 22 years old. So this isn't like it's like super super old school.
I mean that's quite a while ago, but no.
And I love, and while since then we've had other clown, we've had like It and Terrifier and there are other clown films. I think going all the way back to what was it, Clown House, which is a particularly scary clown movie. I love this one because these were obviously not human clowns. The practical effects done on this were fan-fucking-tastic. I legitimately believe that this is the perfect B-horror comedy.
Yeah, I can go with that.
So it's just straight up B-horror. It does not take itself seriously at all. But it delivers exactly what you'd expect from the title, Killer Klowns from Outer Space. It's the aliens, they come down in a spaceship that when it lands, and it kind of like lands in the Earth, but the top of the spaceship is so visible and looks like a circus tent at first glance. And then the clowns come out, and obviously these things are not human looking, but they're huge, they're silly looking, they have weird technology and shit. Like you said, they can kill people with shadow puppets or punch their head off, or I think there was another thing. The popcorn guns are what I thought was fucking hysterical. Because the popcorn is alive.
living popcorn.
And mutates
ammo
into like more clown things. It's fucking ridiculous. But there's one scene that always got me. And it was so jarring because the clowns were running around and they're doing silly shit. And being typically clowns. Like the clown car sequence is really, really funny as hell. Because when the car pulls up and the security guard is standing there, and then one gets out and another gets out, and then like 7 of them get out of this tiny ass little fucking car, was great. And then they kill them with the pies. But the scene in the police station when the one clown is fucking with the mean ass sheriff. Okay, so the clown's fucking with him, and he does like the handcuff. He puts like the handcuffs on him, and then he like boop, and his hands come off and shit. So the one clown goes into the police station. He's fucking with the sheriff, But obviously, it's a killer clown, so it will eventually. And then there's a scene when the main hero, our hero, who's a cop, runs into the station, and the whole town's going insane. The clowns are like killing everyone, wrapping them in cotton candy, to harvest them for food. And the one clown has killed the sheriff and has his hand jammed in his back.
Oh yeah,
and is using him as a ventriloquist puppet. So he's got him sitting. He's got the sheriff sitting on his knee, and he's like manipulating him so that he's speaking like a ventriloquist dummy. Like his body is like a ventriloquist dummy, but it's like his voice still coming out, but it sounds fucking weird. That was a genuinely creepy moment, given all the slapstick weirdness that's going on.
Yeah, because they even have they draw the red circles on his cheeks.
Yes,
just to get that the ventriloquist effect. However you say ventriloquist effect. Ventriloquist. Okay, to get that effect. But this is a movie where they knew exactly what they wanted. It was a clear-cut vision that was a good vision, and they just executed it really well, because this is one of those movies out of all these B movies that we talk about. We've talked about a lot of B movies. This is one of those movies that everybody I know has at least heard of this movie. Like everybody, you're talking about Killer Klowns from Outer Space? Yeah, oh yeah, I saw it, and it was scary, or it was funny, or whatever they thought their opinion on it was. But this is pretty much as good as a B movie can get, and this is a high level.
So perfect, and you kill them by shooting them in their big red fucking noses. So amazing. And of course, the giant monster clown at the end that comes out is like, obviously this ship is running around with this giant god monster clown. Typical deal. I mean, I believe it's on Netflix right now.
It's on one of those, Netflix or Hulu.
It's on one of the streamings. It's either Netflix or Amazon, because those are the only two I currently have. So it's either one, but definitely one not to be missed. The perfect B horror comedy. So it's just a really fun time, and a good just a horror film just to kill time with. And oh man, I miss it. I may have to go back and watch it again just because it's so ridiculous.
It's so fun. It's the deaths in it are hilarious. They have fun with it. The movie never gets old. No matter how many times you watch it.
Oh, absolutely, and I absolutely love the fact that it's all practical effects. There's a little bit of animation done, like when the circus tent spaceship is taking off. There's a bit of animation here and there, but otherwise every single bit of it for practical effects lovers, for horror purists, everything in the film is practical effects and puppetry. From the rubber suits that were worn to depict the clowns, to the big giant clown at the very, very end, and to when they're running around in the spaceship trying to find their way out, the weird kind of mishmash of horror elements and circus elements, absolutely hysterical shit. What else? I mean, I could go on and on, but I think there is plans to continue it, correct?
Yeah, there's actually plans for a sci-fi series. And so I don't know how, with the whole quarantine, how that's going to affect that. But there have been talks of doing a Killer Klowns from Outer Space TV series.
That'd be super awesome.
I would totally down.
That would be on the sci-fi channel?
Yeah, on the Sci-Fi channel. So, and this is actually, I'd like to ask the audience, are you looking forward to the sci-fi series? What have you heard about it? Are you excited about it? Definitely, I'm excited about it. I know Jay and Alex, y'all are excited about it.
Oh hell yeah, I'll watch it. I mean, they could definitely fuck it up, which kind of makes me nervous, but I'd watch it.
I'd still watch, especially now with B horror being so big.
It's so wide. You go on Netflix or even Hulu now, and you can just scroll through B horror all day long, and it's great. And I've just been watching just the weirdest shit, and I love it. It's so amazing.
Good stuff.
Oh yeah, there's like 3 like every day that pop up there.
That's why I fucking love this job. I mean, the stuff that I find, because for those who don't know, in order to I'll let our viewers in, or I'll let our listeners in on a little bit of behind the scenes information. A part of doing this show is I have created on my computer a massive database of the horror films and horror icon birthdays. So, and just from January 1st to December 31st, the whole friggin' thing, I have it listed out on my computer. And we go to that to schedule every single episode, to schedule our daily splatters on Facebook and Twitter. Follow us there in order to get into that, because there's a little bit of horror stuff every single day. But I have this massive database that I've compiled every single day of the year, a horror film that came out that day. And I have multiple entries for every day of the year. And so finding these entries, part of this job is basically going on to, say, Amazon or going on to Hulu. And a couple of times I've actually, obviously paying attention to other horror enthusiasts on Twitter, on Facebook, on all social media. And occasionally I actually have a movie rental store right near my house. What's it?
Did you just say movie rental store?
I can't remember. Yes, it is a movie radio, just like Blockbuster used to be, but it's family owned.
I've heard that.
And so I think they actually might be called Family Video. But anyway, so I go there occasionally just to look at what they have, as far as see if I don't have that movie, I don't have that one added in, and every single day I find more horror films to add to this growing database that I've created. And part of this job is going on like to Amazon Prime, or going on to YouTube, or going on to Netflix. And so, I don't have that one. I don't have that. What the fuck is that shit? Oh, that's a weird one that came out of Turkey. And that's a strange one that came out. We've got all kinds of stuff on there. So every week you get a very small dose of all the films we have available, and multiple entries every day means that we can do this for years. So that's a little bit of behind the scenes details as to how we put this show together. Part of the fun of the job is the research. We get to watch crazy fucking horror movies every goddamn week. And I find some of the weirdest fucking shit to give to Alex, because he loves the really weird shit.
He'll just be like, this movie. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then I'll look it up and I'm like, $4, dude. Like, yeah, I'll fucking watch this. And then I'll start this and I'm like, Jared, what do you do alone at your house?
How are you finding
this? Is fucking intense.
The blood on Satan's claw.
Dude, it's like, where do you find this shit? It's amazing.
The Haunting of Morella.
Yo, but on that same topic of like new movies and stuff, I watched this movie called Platforms. If you haven't seen
Platforms.
Yeah, it's a foreign film. I think it's in Spanish. I don't know. I wasn't really listening. I was just reading the subtitles. But like, it's this film about this prison, and there's levels to the prison, and every day food starts at level 1 and goes like down each level, and they each have like a minute or whatever to eat what they can eat, and then the platform moves down a level. So like, and then like it'll change after like a month. It like, they gas all the platforms and then they move everybody around. So like it's like some sort of experiment. But so like the top people get really good food and the bottom people don't. And so people like will like ride the platform down and like, I don't know. There's like a bunch of murder. It's super cool. It's foreign, but like it's one of those ones where like you don't even need the dialogue to like know what's happening. Super cool. I think it's on Netflix.
That's currently on Netflix.
I think it's been out. It was on the top 10 list a couple months ago, and then a friend of mine recommended it actually, and I was like, I think I saw that, so I went and watched it, and it was definitely worth the time. There's a lot of fucking murder, which is gruesome, and there's this one part to the movie that's like this woman who's like looking for her son, and she like rides the platform down and fucking just kills people like on every level. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, it's like, you get to watch these people who are on like level 277 or whatever, 180, whatever, and they're like, fuck, and then there's like people eating each other. It's intense. Go check it out.
All right, definitely check that out. Then Alex, what do we got for our last movie?
Last movie?
I know, it's over with so soon.
Last movie. I know we normally do 5. I was kind of bummed because typically when we have a special guest on, we talk a lot more because we get their input onto the movies and stuff. And when we have a special guest on, we typically only do 4 movies because we spend so much time talking. And on non-special guest days, we usually do 5, but we only had 4 prepped for this episode.
We're just letting everybody in on our behind the scenes. It's like a little family here now. Come on, gather around, children.
I'm gonna get people involved. Dinner,
let's stuff you full of a whole bunch of fucking knowledge and dumb shit jokes.
That's why they're here anyway.
Yeah.
We hope.
All right. Let's move on to this next movie that actually came out May 30th, 2008, which was the year I graduated high school. If you can believe that. It's been a couple of years.
10 years after me. 10 years after me.
Jesus. No, I'm just kidding. It really flies by, man. I'm turning 30 in a couple few weeks here, and I'm like, holy fuck, that happened fast.
You're turning 30, huh?
It only gets faster.
I know. Anyways, this movie was The Strangers. Came out May 30th, 2008. And this movie was written and directed by Brian Bertino, starring Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman, who were really, I mean, when it came down to it, that was like the whole cast plus the killers. This is a psychological horror film that follows Kristen and James, Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman, who are staying at a vacation home, and 3 individuals wearing fucking creepy China doll mask and a hood break into the house and fuck with them until a very gripping end. It was your typical break-in movie. I'm trying to think of what's that one that came out recently.
This one got me.
Not The Strangers. It was Us. That's what I was thinking of. Kind of a break-in.
It was this one.
Dude,
it
was so that creepy sock mask thing, dude. Like,
oh yeah,
fuck, dude. It's like, man, because it's one of those psychological things where it's like this shit could fucking happen. It's not like abnormal to hear these stories. Like,
well, that was the absolute terror of home invasion. This was as much a psychological horror film as it was a slasher film, and that the film played on it as much an exploration of stranger on stranger violence, of just unmotivated or seemingly unmotivated violence between strangers, and kind of a swipe at the illusion of safety of pastoral life. And that no matter where you're at, you're never really as safe as you think you are. And that our homes can as easily become prisons as they are kind of bastions of safety. This given enough motivation by someone who really, really wants to get you. And because, there's nothing supernatural in this one. There's nothing about it. It's literally, and the scariest part of that movie. I mean, I know there were moments there, where Liv Tyler's standing in the living room, she's smoking a cigarette, and then, Sackface or Sackhead, comes out behind her and is just standing behind her. I was like, you never know you never know. She's unaware. And it just brings that home in such a way. And there was, it's not really super heavy on the action. There wasn't it wasn't unlike movies like You're Next.
Yeah, that was another one.
Where there's a decided, hero here who can throw down with our bad guys. This was just, as was summed up at the end of the film, is like, why are you doing this to us? Because they don't know who they are. They're strangers to them. It's like, why would you do this? It was like, because you were home.
So fucked up.
Yeah.
But this movie was inspired by 2 real life events, and it touches on the Manson family tape murders. And another set of murders called the Ketty Cabin murders that happened in Ketty, California in 1981. And you get stuff like this.
Oh, I remember reading about those.
You get stuff like this where it's like you got this like horror film and they really drag it out, and you got the psychological aspects and you're analyzing stuff. But then like if you really just take a step back and look at it, this is stuff that happens. This is stuff that, like Richard Ramirez, for example, would go into people's homes and hide and wait and watch them live. And like just the thought that somebody could be watching you at any point in time through your fucking window shades You know, like if you're at like a store, there could be somebody fucking stalking you. You'd have no fucking idea. And it really makes you think about it. It's like, holy shit, I need to go double check all the fucking windows and doors, pull the fucking blinds. And then like you think about it, like that doesn't even matter. If somebody wanted to fucking get in, they're going to fucking get in. And so it's like, okay, now I just feel shitty sitting on my couch. Like somebody's watching me. I'm about to fucking die. But it happens. Like these are real life things. And I love psychological horror because it's like, then I'm thinking about it. And hey, you never know, like watching something like this, getting just the right amount of paranoid could save your fucking life. You start thinking about it like, okay, yeah, and then you notice that weird guy in the gas station that you think might have been at the grocery store when you were there, and it's like, wait a second, So I don't know. This movie was done well. I love Liv Tyler. The fact that they really pulled on it, and like you said, there's not like huge action scenes or anything. Hush is like another one that I really like because of that same aspect where it's like, you never know, somebody could be outside trying to get in, so fucking lock your doors and do what I do and sleep with a machete under your pillow.
One of the things that really sells the psychological part of this film is the fact that this not only are they just a random target, but it's the fact that the killers legitimately mess with them. Because they could have just kicked open the front door, charged in with knives, and then just started stabbing them to death. But the fact is, they want to watch. They want to scare you. They want you to fight back. Where you have Liz Tyler running, and then you see it was like Baby Doll who's just on a swing set. Just casually, just enjoying herself. And so it just plays into the fact that these are just real people, and it's just fun to them. That
there was a freaky moment, and what you said just reminded me. There was this freaky moment that Liv Tyler was hiding in the pantry, and the sackhead dude comes in, and I think he had an axe. So he comes into the living room, and he's just like looking around, and he's out of breath, and just kind of like looking around and doesn't see her anywhere, and decides to take a moment to just sit down. There was something very creepily human about the killers. They're just the notion of doing this, running around outside, terrorizing these people, tearing up the car so they can't escape, cutting off all methods of communication outside, to the outside world. No, they can't call for help, and they're doing all this. In real life, this would be exhausting shit.
Mm-hmm.
And as evidenced, by the very end of the film, when they're driving away, they've taken off their masks and they've all hopped in the truck and they're driving off. The Dollface says to the others, like, next time it will be easier.
They're so new at it.
So this being obviously probably their first outing, they wanted to do this. They got together, they did this, but throughout the whole film, we get the decided sense that it's very, very that these are very, very human people.
They're creepy fucking humans.
We see moments.
Die.
Exactly.
Please don't kill me.
And it has heartbreaking moments. And we talked about earlier with unrelatable characters. You can relate to these couple. The couple feels real. And when you get towards I'm not going to spoil the full ending, but when you get towards the end and they're tied up and they're like, listen, just leave. We haven't seen your face. We can't identify you. Just leave. We'll never be able to identify you. And then they just take their mask off.
You're like, oh, fuck.
And they never show their face to the camera. So we never see the actor's face of who, but just getting their reaction of, no, this is as hopeless as it's gonna get. That is solidified. If there was any chance that they were just gonna walk away and be like, hey, it was a prank and leave, it just sealed it. It cut that off. Like, no, we were planning on killing you that night.
We're going to kill you.
We are going to kill you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
God, facing your
that was terrifying.
Like that. Like, I'm gonna go watch something happy now.
It was so wild because I think the director based the entire story on, it was not just the Manson murders and what was the other one, the ones in California,
the Kitty Camp, I think is what it was called.
Yeah, the Kitty Camp murders, which I don't think were ever solved. But there was also when he was younger, when he was a kid, there was a series of break-ins in his neighborhood, and the way that people had reported during that time when there were these break-ins going on, that someone would come to the front door and knock on the front door, and if somebody answered the door, they would ask is so and so here, and everybody who answered the door reported that their porch lights were out. And that they couldn't really see, they couldn't really get a look at the person who was asking. But they'd ask, is so-and-so here? And they'd be like, no, that person doesn't live here. And they'd say, okay, and they would just leave. And then the houses that did not answer the door, where the people were not home, were the ones broken into.
So it's just kind of the reverse.
And so he kind of, yeah. So he kind of reversed on there. He's like, they were looking for somebody who was home.
Yeah, did you know that there was a sequel to this? I did not.
Yeah.
Yes, Strangers Pray at Night.
I didn't know there was a sequel.
Yeah, it's it has a little bit more more action in it, and it's a little bit it's not bad, but it doesn't have the creepiness that The Strangers has. The original does.
And I think it put a little bit too much into them. They stepped from being human killers into being slightly inhuman killers in that respect. That there was less human aspects to them, like running around all night hunting these people. It's we don't see the effect of that. We don't see the wear and tear of what they're doing on them. So they kind of went from the creepy human killer to more your stereotypical slasher, is what I got from that.
Yeah, and it's just in The Strangers, they seem unstoppable, and that they're constantly like a couple steps ahead, versus in the sequel where it's like they're a little bit more sloppy and like not all of them make it kind of thing. So
Not all of them.
So not all of them make it. So I think a little bit the sequel kind of loses it loses what made the original Strangers so good.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it happens.
You got to go for the sequel sometimes.
It's a excellent example of how solid writing and a solid grasp of just, I would say, of the darker aspects of humanity go into it, or it can make a fantastic story. The movie was only made for $9 million, shot at $9 million and grossed $82.4 million.
And the thing is, location wise, you have just the inside of their house. Out around it, you have the 3 killers, and I mean it's a cast member of under 10 people total. So it shows you what you can do with a lower budget and like limited locations.
You just really got to sell it. But
you sell it.
I particularly like this genre, the home invasion stuff. Like I said, psychological. I really like psychological stuff. My question for the audience tonight on this movie is going to be, what is your favorite home invasion movie? I think Hush is at the top of my list. Because if you haven't seen that movie, it's about a deaf woman who is stalked by a killer, and so she's in the house alone, scared as shit, but she can't hear anything, so she's got to like rely on her other senses to survive. And it was really fantastically done. So that's my favorite one.
Mine up there was as well. Well, the film kind of let me down a little bit from the trailer, because the trailer gave a sense of something else. But it was a classic home invasion horror film. I really, really dug You're Next. Just because what's her name? Susie Vincent,
the one that's like the badass.
Yeah, she played the badass in that one. I loved watching her kick fucking ass and having a legitimate backstory behind it that nobody knew about because she was like, oh, she's this perfect girl, she was taking the class, now she's dating her teacher, and she's come to the weekend to spend the weekend out of their family home. Oh yeah, she happened to grow up in a survivalist compound in Australia. Because her dad was really into that shit, and she I kind of wanted to get away, come to America and you'll focus on my education like that. Oh yeah, and I am an absolute badass when it comes to this shit. So
I see. I'll go ahead.
No, I that's why I really enjoyed You're Next.
And we're talking about the top of the home invasion because I love Hush. I love You're Next. And I'll have to actually go The Strangers because I don't want to spoil the ending for those who have seen it. There is an ending death scene that scene sticks with me because there a lot of deaths in slasher movies, stuff like that could be comical, or it could be like, oh wow, funny, or but it's the real brutality of it. And like that's exactly like what is like getting stabbed to death.
Dude,
and
yeah,
it just sticks with you.
It's been done before, so like they had to do it so well this time, and that fucking the chemistry that they had on scene, and like that final kind of scene while they're talking. Like, just like the whole thing was done so well. It
hits.
You can feel it. You feel like you're there. And you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna fucking die.
I could feel it in my joeys, man.
So that'll be my favorite home invasion movie.
I think that's a solid like top 3. If you're looking to watch some home invasion movies, you could just pull those and be set.
Yeah, that's it right there. That's a 3.
And they all have very different endings.
They all do.
All right, I think we've got a couple of in memoriams today.
We do. It's kind of sad, but we remember these guys. They were absolute legends in the genre of horror. We're gonna do kind of a double header because they were both born right near each other, relatively near each other. We're looking back at Peter Cushing and Sir Christopher Lee. So Peter Cushing was born May 26, 1913, and he passed August 11th, 1994. And Sir Christopher Lee, whose birthday was one day later on May 27th, 1922, and he passed June 7th, 2015. And the reason I wanted to bring these two together is because, first and foremost, Peter and Christopher were best friends in real life. And two, the two of them pretty much made Hammer horror for what it was at the time. With both of them, reprising their roles. I think Peter Cushing was Van Helsing like 6 or 7 times, and Christopher Lee, was obviously the Dracula of Hammer horror. I think he was also in like 6 or 7 pictures as Dracula. But two legends that I thought deserved to be talked about. We would talk about both of them, just kind of like their relationship because they starred in many Hammer horror films together. And they're just so epic to watch, both on screen and off. Obviously, many people might know Peter Cushing more as he was Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars. Obviously, Sir Christopher Lee, he was Saruman in the Lord of the Rings trilogy and in The Hobbit. But such fantastic, talented actors. Both of them war veterans.
Yeah, Christopher Lee was he was in the Winter War, right? 1939.
I think Christopher Lee.
A couple of conflicts.
I think he saw time in World War.
Yeah,
I think
World War II for sure. Yeah, but I was like looking back on how deep that went. Just wasn't interested in the military service. And so he volunteered to fight for the Finnish during the Winter War in 1939. That's how he started in that war, and that's crazy to think. Like, it always blows my mind how.
Oh, my apologies. No, I mixed it up. Sorry. Peter Cushing was not in the war. He actually returned to England at the outbreak of World War II.
That's crazy.
So he actually didn't see combat. He wasn't in, but Christopher Lee.
It's crazy how World War II was so recent that people that fought in that war are still alive.
Yeah, Christopher Lee was a badass. Like, he didn't just serve in World War II, he actually served as a special operation executive, which is the precursor to the British SAS, which is equivalent to the U.S. Navy SEALs.
Yeah, SEALs.
So this was special forces, highly trained, those missions where you only have a handful behind enemy lines, and, like, kicked ass.
You heard about that story that he told to Peter Jackson?
Oh,
right?
yeah, about getting stabbed in the lung.
Yes,
No,
Alex, have you heard it? So Christopher Lee was on Lord of the Rings with Peter Jackson, and they were doing the scene when Wormtongue, Grima Wormtongue stabs Saruman in the back, and the way the script had it laid out was that he'd stab Saruman in the back, and Saruman was like, "Ah!" And then he'd fall to his death, and be impaled on the water wheel. But Christopher Lee said, "No, that's not going to work." And Peter's like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Well, because Peter, when you stab someone in the back like that, they don't scream, they don't yell, because when you stab them in the lungs, they gasp."
That's so, like, why do you fucking know that?
And Peter was like, and then in the interview, Peter Jackson was like, and then he proceeded to tell me a few stories that from his war experience that I really probably shouldn't repeat, but yeah, Christopher Lee knew firsthand exactly how that goes down, which is why Saruman gasps when Grima stabs him in the back.
He's like, if we're trying to make this realistic,
yeah.
Listen, when you put a knife into somebody's lung, they go like this, and not like this. Don't ask me how I know. It walks away. I'd be like, yeah, let's roll again. Go back and do
so
that.
Clearly, he's the expert here, so
Go back and do that.
We'll just change it in the script.
That guy's fucking stabbed people. Somebody remind me to get extra security behind me, please. Also, can you get reset? Let's go.
I mean, being special operations, I don't know if extra security would help in any way.
He was part of a long-range desert
two
group, too. Like you said, like a precursor for the SAS. And, yeah, but won't ever talk about it.
He was awesome. Christopher Lee was Sir Christopher Lee, because he was knighted. Absolute badass. He was also a singer and an author.
Oh, really? He did a whole bunch of stuff.
And you can imagine trying to sing with that voice of his. It was so absolutely amazing. But one thing I wanted to kind of shout out to these guys, because quintessential English gentlemen, is that as much as they were known for their talent, they were also known for being consummate professionals and consummate gentlemen behind the scenes. Given a shout to it, Christopher Lee was only married one time, and he was married to Bridget Cronky, and was married to her since 1961. And Peter Cushing was also married to Violet Helene Beck. He married her in 1943. And they were married until her death in 1971. And, it was arguably said that it was so cool because Peter Cushing was such a dedicated actor and such there were stories of how hardcore he was about how he viewed his profession and what he did. But no matter what, whether he was doing horror or whether he was doing horror or drama, it didn't matter, but he was always a stickler for how things should go, but he was always gentlemanly about it. And there was a story about how when his wife passed away, the two of them, he fell into a deep depression. And it took everyone kind of coming together to kind of lift him out of that funk and to keep going, because he constantly went on about how, I just can't go on. I've kind of lost my motivation. I've lost the kind of reason for being, and he would have just wasted away and disappeared. But if it were not for his friends and the compatriots he had made throughout his incredible career, over 100 films to his name, and they came together and brought it back. And so that's how we got, Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars was one of those roles that he put in. So it was just an incredible actor to watch. There's such a unique presence to both of them.
There really was, and it was such a shame because towards the end of Peter Cushing's career, he was actually a huge Sherlock Holmes fan, and his goal was to do all the Sherlock Holmes novels. And so he started off with Sherlock Holmes and the Mask of Death as his first one, but it had it lined up for on BBC to do all of them, and he's really good at Sherlock Holmes.
So fucking cool.
So I wish we were able to get the rest of them because he would have done an amazing job.
Yeah. Both of them, I think, were also asked to be... John Carpenter approached both of them to play the role in Halloween, the 1978 Halloween, as the psychiatrist, Loomis. And they both turned down the role. And
I didn't know that.
That's how Donald Pleasance got it.
That would have been interesting.
He'd first approached Cushing, and then Christopher Lee. Yeah, I don't know. They both turned it down. So then that's how Donald Pleasance.
I could so.
I know. I was just trying to think about it because I was going to bring it up, and I was like, man, that would have been fantastic.
I think something else that people ought to check if you want to look into kind of older Peter Cushing stuff. Obviously, all of his Hammer horror stuff, but he received particular acclaim for an adaptation of 1984 of Orwell's 1984 that he did for the BBC. That was a major thing that he did, and yeah, he was phenomenal. I had to go back and watch that myself, and he was absolutely astounding. And that one of the rare opportunities he got to do to actually jump in and do a non-horror, like a legitimate dramatic performance, and really give, with the characters that have some serious depth to it. He was just great. In total, though, he was in 22 horror films for Hammer Studio, and he was Baron Frankenstein in a bunch of them, and Dr. Van Helsing in them, and along with Christopher Lee, was also friends with Vincent Price during those years.
That's like one of the golden ages, like Vincent Price and Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee all working together. It doesn't get better than that.
And of course, Christopher Lee, those who know him, from obviously his height, his voice, that deep, rich voice that he had. He was Saruman in the Lord of the Rings, but he received his knighthood in 2009, and got his freaking career. And I would love to. His singing career, I want to kind of focus on. I want to tell people about that because he did opera. And he did musical pieces, and I think it was he recorded work for the symphonic metal album Charlemagne by the Sword and Cross
metal,
in 2010, which is something
that sounds like
that sounds epic.
And he'd worked with several.
Dude, we got to mix death metal and
really,
organs.
And just trying to imagine that is just absolutely
so
freaking cool. But God, so many, just film, television. He did voice work at video games, he did audiobooks. He did The Children of Huron.
Let me read.
So just a phenomenal talent just across the board. And anytime they came out, even in something as silly as the new Willy Wonka when he played Willy Wonka's dad in the weird Tim Burton one.
That was something.
So I loved seeing him on screen.
That's awesome. They did fantastic things. They were truly entertainers.
We must join with Sauron. I could not possibly do his voice. He was so unique.
Absolutely. Just amazing.
Your love of the halfling's leaf has clearly slowed your mind. No, still closer, but still not there. Maybe I'll work on it. So, but yeah, I wanted to pay particular tribute to these phenomenal actors, Peter Cushing, OBE, and Sir Christopher Lee, who pretty much cemented the 50s and the 60s and the 70s of Hammer horror, and were the lead, pretty much the driving force behind the transition from classic Universal horror into the slasher genre. And any of their films, highly recommend checking them out. You get to see, Christopher Lee's Dracula going to Peter Cushing's Van Helsing, a bullet cannot kill me. And he's like, a silver bullet?
Oh.
Oh shit. And see Christopher Lee's face. It was fucking great. He was like, a silver bullet? Oh fuck. Yeah. I fucking their chemistry and their camaraderie was just undeniable. And it's just such a blast to watch the two of them work together. Of course, those, Christopher Lee with those big ass fucking eyes, the huge ass teeth and shit. I fucking love it.
Well, may they rest peacefully.
Yeah, definitely. Rest in peace.
All right, that wraps up another episode of Week in Horror. Thank you so much to all of our listeners. Go check out our website at weekinhorror.net. We've been playing around with that a little bit. Just a little bit of info in there if you want to go in there and see, some faces to the names, a little bit about us, or check out some episodes from there. So we're constantly updating weekinhorror.net. Check that out. Any feedback, comments, questions, concerns, riddles, brain games, whatever you want, go ahead and drop us a line at weekinhorror@gmail.com. Please send us some emails. We're so fucking bored in this goddamn quarantine.
One thing I do want to shout out, and thank you, Alex, for mentioning that. We know that a lot of our listeners out there are going through tough times. These are uncertain times. I hate using that term. It sounds so fucking cliche, but these are uncertain times. And we know a lot of listeners out there, especially members of the horror community, are dealing with depression or dealing with stress, not knowing when they're going to be able to go back to work, not knowing if their job is going to be there. We know that things are very, very difficult right now. And while our country makes up their mind and tries to figure out we try to figure out what our next steps are going to be, if you need someone to talk to, feel free to contact us via Facebook, via Twitter, via our email. Shoot us a line. We would love to hear from you. If you just need someone to shoot the shit with, talk about horror movies, just talk about various stuff, or even other things, we would love to hear from you. Reach out to us. We are always here. We just love to get to know you. Let us know that you're out there, and we'll get through all of this together.
Yeah, absolutely. Just we're going through the same stuff. Everybody's got kids, and even these people that are out there working, they have to deal with this crazy freaking world out there. And so, thank you to everybody that's out there working. I guess I hate the word essential employees because it sounds forced, but you guys are out there. I work in labor, so I've been doing a lot of labor work outside, and it's hot here in Texas, and it's been rough. And then you have to come home, and everybody's so stir crazy because you're sitting around and you're going nuts. If you need 5 minutes away, go run to the fucking shitter, sit down, send us an email. We'll reply. We've all got access to that email address, so you could get any one of us. Just shoot us a message. Like JL said, just talk to us. We're here. Everybody's going through it. Let's just survive.
Yeah, it's just keep in mind that you are not alone.
No, there's always somebody watching you from the window.
Yeah, we're all hanging in there, and the only way we're going to defeat this is by working together. So please, if you need to, contact us.
For sure. And if you are working and you're working extra hours because they got you on overtime, and you've listened to all of our episodes and you're bored, flip over to our Patreon, patreon.com/weekinhorror. Send us money. We'll send you extra content. Our bloodbaths and our after darks. Our bloodbath is we take two horror icons and pit them together, and they've been getting more fun, should I say, every episode. And if you go on to Patreon, you can get the bloodbaths a month early. And then our After Dark is when we sit down with the special guests we have on our show and talk to them a little bit more about what's going on in the genre and the community, and kind of get a feel for our special guests on a more personal level. Also, check us out at facebook.com/weekinhorror. Get your daily splatter like JL mentioned earlier. It's a little bit of horror info every day. Just go over to Facebook, hit the like button. You'll see it in your feed. It's cool little tidbits and trivia, and also another way to communicate with us, because we watch those, and we can respond to you on there as well. And also on Twitter at Week in Horror. Same scenario. We're on both those social media platforms. We're old people, so we can only do two. I know there's like a million fucking platforms out there now, but JL's getting overwhelmed dealing with two. No, I'm just kidding. You're doing a great job on those. Keeping up.
No, I am.
Doing
I am
a great
getting
job.
overwhelmed. And we're about to launch the YouTube and have our podcast on YouTube, and we're looking at doing live content once we get the camera setup going on, we get the studio set up. So it's
God,
all
I can't wait
kinds.
to
It's
get
going to
back
get all
to the
kinds
studio,
of crazy.
man. I'm sitting here at the house and there's dogs barking out back. I'm pretty sure it's my cat that ran away, terrorizing the neighbor dogs. It'd be nice to get back in the studio and be in a room together again so that we can really get into it. Also, the YouTube thing, I wanted to bring this up. There is a YouTube site up right now. You can go and subscribe, and you can get on there, and you'll be the first to get notified when we start dropping content on that. So yeah, check out YouTube. We're expanding. Eventually, you'll be able to sit down and talk to us face to face. Well, kind of. You can see our faces, but you can't see yours. But yeah, so hey, thanks again, listeners. You guys, we're out here talking. It's cool to have people listening. And, hit us up if you need anything.
I'm JL.
I'm Eugene.
And I'm Alex.
We love you, horror community. We could not do this without you. We will see you next week. And as always, stay scared.